Welcome to the Real with Joseph Lamtman. I am Joseph Lamtman. And thank you guys for tuning in today. Happy Thursday to you guys. Welcome back to the Real. If you're new here, like, subscribe, share. Really appreciate if you hit the like button on the way in as well. Yeah, if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe and please share this content. I really appreciate it. But appreciate you guys for tuning in today. Happy Thursday to you guys. Hope you guys having a good week. Um, yeah, it's been an interesting week for me. This week, a year ago, was the week I started my first episode. I've talked on the show many, many times in the 66 episodes I've done before this on the Reel, probably in a couple of my live streams as well. I've told the story many times of that week. A year ago at this time, what I was going through. Just a week I'll never forget for the rest of my life, and it's been really cool to kind of sit back and reflect this week on that week a year ago, since it's the year anniversary. And I can remember like what happened each and every day that week too. What happened on the Monday, what happened on the Tuesday, what happened on the Wednesday, what happened today, the Thursday. Like for instance, today, the Thursday a year ago, I remember I had a really bad panic attack that morning when I got up, really bad, and just that was a rough day. Um, but then after the Thursday, things started to slowly turn, and then by Saturday, that's when I did my first show, and it wasn't even planned. And so here I am now, a year later, episode number 67 here with this show and Sunday Lives and Browns reactions and all kinds of other things we're doing now. And so, yeah, it's really cool to be able to sit back and reflect this week and just reflect on all the wins I've had in the last year, reflect on all that I've been through. Um, if you'd have told, I sat and imagined yesterday too. Like if I looked into I was looking at my old self a year ago, standing right in front of him, and would have told him everything I've done in a year, and said, "This is where you're going to be next year, and this is what you did in a year later." I probably would have been like, "Yeah, you're crazy. Like, there's no way in hell that stuff would ever happen, or I would get not yet, or it would go as well as I thought it did, or I'd have the opportunity to do some things I've done in my personal life." Like, uh, nah. But it did, and still some more things to come in my life, and obviously I'm only 23, so, but still some things that I've started in the last year that I'm looking forward to continuing and bettering, and letting God lead me in certain areas, and finding out where certain things go, and just excited right now, excited, and have a lot of anticipation within me as well. I've realized that recently with like my own journey with anxiety and panic and all that stuff. A lot of what I'm going through right now is just there's so much new things in my life, things I waited for so long that have come back in my life, or new things and things I used to dream about years ago, and they come back around now, and there's still more things I'm very uh, naturally ambitious at times, especially when I had to uh, sit and go through waiting for years for a lot of things, or just have the opportunity, especially my down years. I went through struggle where I was kind of just isolated away from everything, isolated from the world, isolated from just people. Yeah, I went away for a while, did my own and just had to do what I had to do at that time, and just was doing my own thing, and kind of just trying to figure out what was really going on with me. Um, but now that I'm back around, and back around my old friends, made new friends, met people from the past maybe I didn't know, met people that maybe I'd never met before. Like just meeting people, being around people again, has really helped tremendously, and it's got me back to who I really am, and helped mold into becoming who I truly am, who God designed me to be, and getting rid of all the old programming, all the old stuff in the past that wasn't mine. Wasn't my thinking, wasn't my uh, just wasn't who I was, wasn't who God wanted me to be. But I also understand why it happened, and why He took me down that road, and why He led me to do certain, or allowed me to go through certain trials in my life, and it was very hard at times, very hard. It's funny. I heard Kobe Bryant one time in an interview. He did the him and Shaq interview. Many people have seen it on YouTube right before a couple years before Kobe passed, and they did a one-on-one interview talking about was this a Shaq one? Maybe it was a Shaq one. or no, excuse. Well, yeah, in the Shaq one, and then he did another interview right before he died on All the Smoke with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, literally in that month when he passed. And so, and he talked about in that interview on the All the Smoke one, he talked about how, uh, they asked him what was the most painful part of your career, what was most challenging. And obviously, when he lost to the Celtics in '08, that was challenging. But he said that really the most part that was most hard was his first 3.5 years in the league, being drafted in the league, and his coach at that time didn't believe in playing rookies, just wasn't a thing. And so, uh, he just didn't believe in playing rookies. His coach. So for 3.5 years, Kobe just kind of sat on the bench for a little bit, just rode the pine, and he had to just sit and watch. And he said it was frustrating because he's like, it's sitting on the bench, and you're looking at all your peers, seeing them do what you want to do. They're playing and you're not, and you're just sitting there like, when am I going to get my chance? I'm going to get my opportunity. And I use that as an example. And he even said that was probably the most painful part of his career. And he said it still ticked him off even till that day. Because he's like, how many more points could I have had? How many more? What else could I have done? The what if? But it's funny because the first video I'm gonna show today, I'm a reactive video from my man Jason Whitlock. Um, I've been a fan of his for a while. His writings. I like Jason because he's honest. His honesty and doesn't really care what people think. Even if you agree with him or don't, he's completely honest and just raw. And I really like his show. Learned a lot from him. Talked to him a couple times on some Zoom calls. But uh, yeah, I've learned a lot from Jason. But he did a video. He does these reaction videos now on his channel. He has own show on the Blaze, Fearless, and he did this reaction to a video from a young girl, probably around my age, to be honest with you. Two of them are sitting there. They're on a podcast, and this guy's asking them questions about the hookup culture and kind of like this whole hookup culture and all this dating nowadays in 2023, and just all the social media influence and everything. And I was sitting there thinking about this video. And I think about my life and the journey I've been on, and just there was a years I had to wait for certain things to even have the opportunity to do things, or to just even like you know. Be able to do like this show right here. This was one of the goals I had for a long time, and just but it took a lot of time to allow things to manifest. It took a lot of patience. I had to sit back and wait. I had to sit on my own bench for years. I had to, yeah, it was hard at times watching people around you do things that you wanted to do, even like basic things in life, right? But I knew God had a purpose for me. He was holding me back. He was not holding me back. He was keeping me in a certain place for a reason. And it was until I started to learn the lessons from it, and then also applying the lessons. But also, it was for his timing. His timing is perfect. And in those years where I was away, I could look back at them as down, but I had actually had a lot of fun in those years. Even those days where those times where I was by myself and I was isolated, I still had some fun. Like it was, why it was fun because it was peaceful. It was just myself and God, and a lot of times it was me out on the bike, out on the trails, out at the park or wherever, just kind of just in my own world, no stress, no, not surrounded by any of this garbage you see nowadays. Kind of like I'm going to show you in a second. I don't want to say garbage, but you'll see when I show you in a second. But because this is wild. But in the words of my man Corey Mihalich, it's wild. What I'm about to show you, it's wild. But you know, yeah, it's just. But I'm glad he kept me isolated, because if I would have tried to do things on my own, I wouldn't be here today. Number one, if I would tried to force things, and also number two, if I would have, you know, if it would have been my timing and outside of God's will, I'd have got less. I wouldn't have got God's best. I would have got less. And so, yeah, nice sunshine outside. I'd say a nice drink, just lemons and water, but good for you. Look it up. But anywho, and so it's easy to get down on yourself, like Kobe said. But ask Kobe now, or ask him then. Or really ask us as fans that watched. Yeah, he had to sit on the bench for 3.5 years and watch people around him his age, guys that came into his draft class with him, play, and he wasn't allowed to play. But when he got his time, he took advantage of it. And when he took advantage of it, look at his career probably compared to all those guys, it wasn't even close. I mean, you know, I'm sure if you go look at anybody his peers in that time, none of them equaled out to be who he was as a player. And so, but again, it takes commitment, it takes focus, patience, uh, determination, and also just knowing, like just trust that God will provide for you, and that if you align yourself with Him and not with the world, which is what I'm about to show you in a second, is an example of somebody who I'm not picking on her because it's actually really sad to be honest with you that people really think like this, but or the people people buy into this stuff they someone's gonna be cussing the stuff they see on the internet, and they think it's real, and it just how it persuades their thinking and how they make decisions in their life, and it's not real. Like so phony. But again, that's why you have to align yourself with truth. And what is truth is God's truth, and ain't no other way around it. And so, let me get into this video because I know where to start with this one. I saw this yesterday. I posted it on my. It's really a reflection of what you hear and see nowadays, which is why a guy like myself who's single, I take my time. I'm very patient. I'm not in no hurry. Yes, I'd love to be with somebody one day, and have that. But with God in the center of it, because that is normal. It's normal to want that. It's normal that will happen in your life in one day, and I look forward to that with the right person. All right, and so, but if I had this mentality right here, I would never find that. I would never find what I really want from a relationship or from one day getting married and what that provides in your life. It's bigger than you. It's not just what that person can do for you. It's what you can do for each other, but also God has a will and a plan and a purpose for each one if He's in the center of it. That's far greater than all of us. It's all to glorify His will. But nowadays, that's been taken out of society. It's been brainwashed, and we have a lot of people. I'm gonna be honest, even people that say they're followers of Christ, and I'm not saying they aren't, but they're out there putting on a front and putting out these videos as well, putting out these this information that's false. Like it's just not. Everybody acts like there's like this secret formula nowadays. There's just like this, you got to follow these steps, this, and that. Man, if you keep doing that, you'll be waiting forever. It's a never-ending cycle. It's a trap, and it doesn't really involve God because each person's plan is different than the others. It's. I mean, yeah, you might have some similarities, but God's purpose for you is for you. You were made unique in His image. You have a unique plan and purpose for Him. The person He has planned for you, that person's specifically designed for you and you for them. And so if you go around looking for all these check boxes and all this shit, let's see, they got me cussing. It is what it is. If you going around looking for all this stuff and all this, buying all this stuff on the internet, and not all of it's bad. There is some good people on there that share some good points, valid points. But they don't promote that in the algorithms, and they don't do it for a reason. And so that's, you gotta really think deep on that. I'm gonna leave that there. But they don't put that in the algorithms. And so what you get is people like this right here. This young lady here on the screen, her and her friend, the one on the left is gonna be the one talking. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna play the video, and let's just play.
I went on a date with a guy who's single and he's not fucking any other girls, then I would be like, well, why isn't he? Like, what's wrong with him? Obviously, there's been some flags going off for other girls to make them avoid the situation. So, I mean, like, I personally would be like more inclined to want to go on a date, at least a first date,
with a guy who's
the guy who's like normal, yeah, who's like hooking up with girls, and I'm hooking up with guys. Like, I mean, I feel like that's dating in 2022. Like,
it's very normal. Everybody just hooking up, swiping left and right. It's very, very normal. It's also very sick, and it's one of the reasons why our divorce rate is so astronomical. It's one of the reasons why kids are running wild. It's one of the reasons why people can't pull off successful relationships. But this is a little child with a very low IQ that needs to go sit down and shut up somewhere.
Shout out to Jason. He nailed it out of the park right there. And he's right. This is why there's the divorce rate's so high. This is why there's not many successful relationships anymore. This is why everybody's just so jacked up right now with this stuff, because this is the type of thinking you have. And to me, this is just a reflection of who runs your mind. Like, that's what I would ask. Like, who runs your mind? Do you have control of do you think for yourself at all? Because I don't think you do. That type of thinking does not think for themselves. And what it is pressure. And that's why I put in the title today, pressure and ego. We allow the pressure society makes us think we're missing out. The pressure society tells us we're, we need to hurry up. We need to settle. If you're not doing X, Y, and Z by now, then, what are you doing? There's something wrong. Like she said, her words, if you're not out, messing around, there's something wrong with you, allegedly, to her. That's according to her. There's something wrong with you. And I'm like, are you sure about that? I don't, because she's probably not married, and with that mentality, I mean, you're not gonna have a healthy marriage, like Jason said. So good luck with that. Number two, it's just like, I'm just almost speechless, because when I hear stuff like this, you hear this all the time, even in public. Like when you're out, like people nowadays just don't care. Like they just say it. Like, and I'll give her props. I'm not trying to pick on her, but I'll give her props. At least she's honest. I'll give her that for being straightforward. Like, hell, I know some guys, they probably would, be all over that. But anywho, again, what my point is, that's somebody who allows TikTok, who allows Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you use, the music being put out nowadays. That's somebody who allows that stuff to dictate her thinking and to control how she operates. And that her lens, her moral compass is through the worldly view. That's what that is. That thinking. Can it change? Yes, absolutely. Always. But it's really sad, because these people like her, and there's a lot of them out there, especially my age, they're trying to find that, they're trying to find something that's missing on the inside, but they're never going to find it when you look to that stuff right there. When you look to that stuff and you allow that to control your thinking, you're never going to find it, what you're searching for, whether it's true love, real relationship, growth, whatever, peace. You're not going to find it with that mentality and listening to this stuff right here. It's just not going to happen. It's not healthy, like Jason said. And I can't. I want to hear this again. I hate that some people may not want to hear this again, but I got to play it. I got to hear this again.
If I went on a date with a guy who's single and he's not fucking any other girls, then I would be like, well, why isn't he?
Or maybe you went on a date with somebody who's out working. Maybe he works. Maybe he's got responsibilities to take care of his family. Maybe he's got people he's taking care of in his family, he's providing for. Maybe he's like a good, solid, hardworking dude. But because he's not out acting like a damn fool, that's the thinking nowadays. Right here. It's on the screen. You just heard it. And there's many more people developing that mindset. And it's scary. Very scary, because oh man, we got a very unhealthy way we're heading. It's been happening for years. Here, that's the world we live in. But it's very scary. And this is the reason why I just sit in the cut as a single man. I just sit back and put my hater blockers on. I just do this right here. I just put these on. I'm just gonna sit back, and this is what I do. I just sit back with these on, my head, and I just observe, and I just watch all this stuff going on, and I just wait for God to talk to me, and I'll let Him lead me to that person, okay? And I'll be patient. That's the problem, right? We're not patient nowadays. This right here is a lack of patience on the screen, and I'm not picking, again, this is an example, but I'm using her as an example for a lot of people. But you're looking to the wrong things to heal yourself. You're looking for the wrong things to help you. You're looking for the wrong things to move forward from maybe something. And so this maybe a lot of times somebody like this is somebody who's been broken. You know, maybe she was with a dude she thought she was gonna marry, and you know he dumped her and took off. You know, or that type of shit. You know, that stuff happens all the time. But and I understand it's hard. It's hard when somebody lets you down, or maybe you're broken. Maybe her parents let her down. I don't know. Maybe somebody with this type of mindset, right? And it's an example of the world today. And so, again, a lot of it could be heartbreak. You know, maybe you can't let go. And I understand it's hard. I get it. You're not wrong for feeling that way if that happened to you. But at some point, you got to move forward, and you have to accept and redirect. And you have to redirect yourself to God, number one, but also you got to understand this is where truth is missing in society, because God says, you know, it tells you in the Bible, and this is what I had to learn in my journey, why I brought up my journey earlier, because actually that's why I feel bad for people like that, because I something's wrong, like some type of hurt, some type of pain, something's just missing, something's off. But again, I've been there on my own journey. I've been in a place where I was hurt, where I felt hurt, where I felt like I was Kobe on the bench, sitting there watching people you know, do things that I wanted to do, and I wasn't able to do them, right? It sucks. It hurts. But sitting around with that victimhood mentality, which then could turn into this mentality right here, which leads to bad things. And guys, that's not a lifestyle you want to go down, right? I know people that, you know, people that do that type of stuff, that's what they want to do. It's their free will. But there's a reason why God says to wait for certain things, and says to you know, be patient with things, and hold off things, because it's for protection, protecting your mind, future relationships like marriage. It keeps the covenant, but it also keeps the damage away from you. There's a lot of damage that could be done when you go out and have a reckless lifestyle like that, and things don't go how they should have went, right? It does damage to you psychologically. And that's why you hear all these guys, especially like with men, they say, oh, you gotta go out and be a man. He was a man last night. Yeah, he was a man, but keep doing that over time, you're messing yourself up mentally. That's not being a man. Being a man is being responsible. That's being a man. But also, you know, again, if you allow the pressures of the world to dictate your thinking, allow social media to control how you operate and how your lens of the world, because your ego, people, that's what they do. They try to get to your ego. They try to tell you you're missing out. You're less than, you know, you're less than your peers that are going on doing this stuff. You're less than, you know, you're not good enough. Like what? Like she said. You heard what she said? If he ain't out doing that, I ain't messing with him. That's not proper thinking over this, okay? And well, let's hear it again. I'm gonna keep playing.
Like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah, oh yeah, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with you is what I'd be saying. I can't believe. Oh, let me calm down. She said, "What's wrong with him?" And her friend over there was off the side, just key, and like, yeah. I'm like Jason on the bottom. I'm just like, are you serious?
Obviously, there's been some flags going off for other girls to make them avoid the situation. So, I mean, like, I personally would be.
Again, we ever act like there's like this special formula they put online. There's all these criteria you got to follow, and this is how you find somebody. It's from people that have this type of thinking, that are putting that shit into your mind. It is what it'll call like it is. It's shit. They're putting it in your mind. All right, that's what this is. That's a victim of it right there. And you know what? We all can fall victim to it. But again, you know, I made mistakes in my life. Everybody's made mistakes. We're all sinners. Nobody's perfect and never will be. But who do you allow to control you? Who do you allow to guide you? If you really want to get to if you really want the things you truly want in your life, how do you really think you'll get there? And how do you think it will last? Is it really real? Is it authentic? You know, this is a lot of synthetic shit you're hearing right now on the screen. Yeah, I'm sorry for cussing again. I'm working on it. All right. But, you know, I just can't. You know why it bothers me? I don't say bothers me, but when I hear stuff like it's because I know what it leads to. Because what I do now with that mental health and anxiety, this is why people are getting messed up because they're listening to this stuff and they allow this stuff to control them and put pressure on them, and they start to think they're less than, they think they're not equal, or they're not good enough. They'll never maintain. They'll never have that. And then what happens is when you just give up, now you're really vulnerable to a lot of bad things happening. The devil can come into your mind and run rampage on you and take you wherever he wants you to take you because you let him, because you accepted it. Or are you willing to pay the cost to wait? Are you willing to and you might find that person, but it may not go as fast as you want it to go. Yeah, that happens a lot. But again, are you willing to wait on God's timing? It's better to wait for things, trust me. It's better to wait and let things play out. The longer things wait, the longer things go, the richer they get. Imagine applying that to a relationship. And so when God really unveils it, opens the next door, and the hookup occurs when He allows it, imagine what that'll be like. Your day in the sun will come. My day in the sun will come. But you gotta be patient. Wait. You can't allow this type of thinking right here, because you're never gonna get there. This right here is a never-ending cycle. That thinking, and it leads to a lot of just. You're the one that pays the price for it.
Like more inclined to want to go on a date, at least a first date,
with the guy who's
the guy who's like normal, who's like hooking up with girls, and I'm hooking up with guys. Like, I mean, I feel like that's dating in 2022. Like,
oh, that's dating in 2022. Why do we do that? Why do we have to? You know what? I think I made my point clear. If you have to go off of trends for everything in your life, you're like you're somebody they just take and they could just throw you around. We'll throw you over here, we'll throw you over there, we'll throw you there. You'll do whatever the hell we tell you to do, and shut the hell up when we say it. That's what you are. It's like Jason's face on the screen right now. This is what you're allowing yourself to be thrown around to. And again, I'm not picking on this young lady here. I actually feel bad for her. I'll pray for I actually pray for people like her, and pray for myself as well. Because here, this is a good reminder for myself too. I ain't casting no stones. But I'm using this as an example because this is a mindset needs to be corrected. Actually, and that's why I said I feel bad, because I hope she maybe sees this or sees Jason's or something. Somebody gets to her and tells her, hey, maybe that's not the correct mindset. Let's try to help you out, protect yourself, right? And so, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And like she said there at the end, and really what she's telling you is what she really wants. If I go out on a first date, keyword first date, and this is what I don't see what I like the signs she was looking for, because I'll tell she's trying to do. It's just a one night stand. That's all it is. Like I said, I know some guys that might be all over that, but I'm good on that. But anywho, again, the psychological damage. I mean, that's not a healthy way to live. Yes, we have flesh within us, but again, that's where you have to have spirit. And this is where you have to ask yourself. This is what I have to ask myself. And I have to check myself all the time for many things. Because temptation's in many different ways. But for many different things. What are you filling your mind with the most? What are you absorbing the most? If you're constantly absorbing just shit and garbage and this stuff right here, that's gonna be the mindset that you play out. What you hear and see is what you eventually become. You spend 2 hours swiping around listening to this shit all day. How about you spend 2 hours maybe, number one, absorbing some word, which we all need to do better. I need to do a better job at that. But also listening to maybe calmer music, not more of this like shoot 'em up, bang bang music and all this, all this rah rah and just, stuff that dignifies each other sexually, let's be honest. But yeah, I mean, what do you put in your mind? And here we're all human, we're all flawed. I like to go out, we all we all have a part of us that's more loose, or just like go out and have fun. I have fun all the time, but you have to. You can have fun, but it doesn't have to be detrimental and dangerous and just morally wrong. But again, society says now that's the only way to have fun is that way, and you have to do it to fit in with your peers. That's the only way you can fit in is like this. But again, do you accept that? And do you really want true happiness? You can have all those things, and we can have nothing wrong with having fun and having a good time. That's not what God said when He says not to do certain things. But He also understands if you really want the true benefits from it all, follow Him, follow His law and His word, and you'll obtain more than what the world says. You'll have richer than what the world says. You'll have more peace and happiness and joy, more fruit to your life than that mindset right there. They promote that as being it. They promote that mindset. People like her, they promote that as being it, and they're doing it and they're living. That ain't living. That's a broad road that leads to nothing but destruction. But very few do have the fortitude and the mindset and the courage to take the other road. Especially if you're somebody single, because guess what? God probably has somebody planned for you that's in the same type of situation. Both of you have the same alignment. That's the hookup you want. Imagine finding somebody. It's very rare to find somebody with the same mindset as you nowadays, because of this stuff right here. What's causing all this? But when you do, and if you're willing to wait it out with God, and you find that mindset, and you find that person He's always had planned for you. That's why a lot of people forget, not just relationships. A lot of people never find their true purpose. I remember Tony Evans said this one time. A lot of people never find their true purpose in life. They may be heaven bound, but heaven ain't coming to them here on earth because they never tap into that. They don't allow themselves to. They don't allow God to lead them and direct them, because they get caught up in all this stuff, all this pressure from the world. People saying they ain't trying to attack their ego, because we have an ego within us that says, hey, you're not good enough, and so you kind of falter and say, you know what, I want to fit in. Well, if you try to fit in, you'll be you're not going to be fitting in, or you're going to be feeling good, or you'll be fitting out and about down the road when the damage starts to occur, if you let that control you, because there's always a price to pay for this. When you go down those roads, there's a price to pay. And God forgives you and help you to heal. See, a lot of people, the longer you do this type of stuff, that your conscience gets hardened. When your conscience gets hardened, it's a very scary place to be. And so, I ranted on a lot more. I wanted to this today. Let's hear Jason's take one more time, because it was pretty good.
It's very normal. Everybody just hooking up, swiping left and right. It's very, very normal. It's also very sick. And it's one of the reasons why our divorce rate is so astronomical. It's one of the reasons why kids are running wild. It's one of the reasons why people can't pull off successful relationships. But this is a little child with a very low IQ that needs to go sit down and shut up somewhere.
If I went on a date with
Yeah, and it's it's crazy nowadays, man. Just how things are. Absolutely wild. But in the words of my man Corey Mihalik, it's just wild. But shout out to Jason for the video. I'll link that video below. It's a short, actually, but great take on it. And prayers to the young lady and for everybody else. I pray for everybody here. I'm not perfect, and I just hope we can put an end to this stuff. It's time for people like people my age, especially. We need to stand up to this stuff. We can't keep allowing this. We got to stop and correct people. There's nothing wrong with that. People stop and correct me all the time. I need it. If you're wise, you learn and you listen. You're never a finished product. And so, and if you're wise, you wait on God too. But people ain't doing that anymore. So, but Yeah, that's my take on that. Now, my next topic today, I got a video from an anxiety guy that kind of somewhat goes along with that in a way, because it talks about the ego, anxiety, and ego, and pressure, which I think would be really good to understand the psychological mindset of it, which I was referring to throughout my rant there. And so, this video here from Dennis Simsek, the anxiety guy, eliminating the ego equals freedom from anxiety. Free your higher self. And again, your higher self is kind of like what I was just saying. Tap it into God's will for you. That's kind of what this is here. You're kind of trying to tap into that in a way. And so I'm gonna play this video here. I'm gonna stop a couple times and get some commentary out. I kind of gave most of my commentary today, so I'm gonna let Dennis get perspective here from like the mental health side of it, and just really try to apply this to a lot of what I was just saying, and try to see how the two kind of intertwine with each other, because it'll really help you understand to create your own thinking and to help you take your power back and to allow God to come in and to show you the way to lead you to where you want to go, the goals and dreams you had, to be free, just like it says there, freedom. And so, yeah, I'm gonna stop talking, take these hater blockers off. I'm gonna keep them on though when I hear some stuff like that, and get to the video. Let's do it.
Warriors, welcome to another important video. Thank you so very much for joining me here today. And yes, the Essential Guide to Health Anxiety is coming out first week of October on Amazon. Pick up this book. I'm so excited for you to read it. My friends, more often than not, people come to me and say, Dennis, the information you provided and the knowledge, thank you so much. I really feel like I've healed my anxiety, right? And I ask them, well, how did you really practically heal your anxiety? And they say, well, I took a totally different approach, right? Something I never thought I would take. And my mindset was different. I started to associate and connect with something or someone different. That's where we're going today, my friends, because the truth is this, okay? Try to grasp these words. You cannot heal through the same I that created anxiety in the first place. So if you feel like your approach to your healing is in line with the same I or the same identity that brought you anxiety in the first place, if you can get that sense, then you're going to be like a hamster running on a hamster wheel, right? It's never going to end, okay? So it's very important that we understand that we have to take a completely different approach to our healing. And what that means is that we have to feel vulnerable. We have to feel naked at times, right? We have to feel like we're stepping out of the norm and the things that have become very comfortable to us, right?
Great point there. I want to say you might have to sit on that bench like Kobe Bryant. Sometimes God takes you on a different path. When God takes you to your destination, His calling for you, it's never a straight path. There's always tests involved. There's always, because it's all to develop your character. But again, remember, your path is unique from everybody else's. He has a special plan for you specifically. So you might have to sacrifice some things, but that's okay, because always remember where you're going. Always remember the end goal. Like you said, disassociate from that I that you've always carried, that the world or others put into you. That's not really you. And so, great point there. Goes along with what I was saying earlier.
But I want you to see if you can connect to some of these things. First, I want to talk about the ego, which is leading you into anxiety in the first place. Can you connect to this? Okay, so the I or the ego is very unconscious, right? Not very mindful of what's going on or questioning things or being flexible in their thinking. Do you feel like as you're going through the day, it's kind of you're just kind of looking to survive the day? If this is you, you're being led by the ego or the I There's many, many different names for this, right? The ego compartmentalizes. This is good. This is bad. This is so-so. This makes me sad. This makes me angry. This is black. This is white. These sorts of things, right? It likes to put things in compartments. Now, if you continue to put things in compartments this way, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be chasing symptoms your entire life. And when I talk about symptoms, I'm talking about anxious situations, right? I'm talking about people out there that you blame for your anxiety. I'm talking about anxiety sensations and literal bodily symptoms, right? These are effects. And when we talk about effects, we need to talk about causes, okay? So we need to understand where they're coming from. The ego is very overly critical. Do you find yourself being critical towards yourself? Like, I should have done this differently. I should have said that. Why didn't I act that way? Not only towards yourself, but once you're content with yourself, you start to become overcritical towards the world and other people. Why didn't my father treat me this way? It's almost like that ego or that I or that inner child is looking for ways to bring you back into a fear-based, threatened, anxious state, reminding you of a picture from like 8 years ago. Why are you bringing that up now, right? And so we fall for the trap. We fall for the trap that brings us back into a comfortable and familiar state of being called fear and anxiety. In this state,
And that trap leads you back into where you're very vulnerable to these thinkings of the world and these thinkings that can lead you down the wrong paths you don't really need to go down. It doesn't lead to helping you and benefiting you in your healing at all. It leads to the exact opposite. And so, again, great awareness there from Dennis. I love that. And just understanding the traps, understanding what's good for me, what's not, setting boundaries with certain things. Meant to disassociate from some things or people, or just set boundaries. You can't. Yeah, I can't spend as much time on that anymore with that person much as I used to because, it's not really good for me. Not mean you're mad at them or anything. You just, what, that's what they're doing, but I'm gonna do what I need to do to help myself and to ultimately get me to where God wants me to be, because that's most important. If you're not doing that, you're not gonna have true peace and happiness. Because when you're outside of God's will and He needs you to do something, He's calling you to do something, I've been there. You feel very uncomfortable for a period, and it's not fun. It's not happy, and it's very painful. And he has to wake you up sometimes. He's not trying to kill you, but he's trying to like, hey, hello, dude, I need you. Like, I need you over here. I need you doing this. Like, I got more planned for you. I got way better planned for you. You're over here looking at this stuff over here, what they're telling you about. Forget that. I got way better over here. I found that out myself. Found that out a year ago in this day, in this week. And so, great point there by Dennis. Get back to the video.
We don't trust in the uncertain anymore, right? We stay within our comfort zones, which is what the ego wants, right? So it's always looking to pull you back. If you're living through the I or the ego, you're always striving to feel good. I just wish I could feel good, right? But we have to understand that that's a never-ending battle, right? Feeling good is a result of things that you perceive differently, the vulnerability that you embrace, the different wordings that you use, the different actions. So the idea or the goal of I want to feel good doesn't really make sense, because this isn't something that you should be shooting for, but rather it be a result of other things that you're doing differently, right? The ego is always in anticipation of the bad. Ooh, right? It's not going to go the way you want it to. Don't bother. Find a way to get out of it, right? Don't get on the plane. Don't go for a drive. Don't do anything that's going to put you in harm's way. But when we talk about harm's way, what are we really talking about? Are we talking about a true and reliable threat? Or are we talking about a perception that's coming from the ego based on the subconscious programs that are still running in our minds and bodies. So what we think are threats, right? What we think are things that are going to do harm to us and maybe our family and our friends, it should really be questioned, right? They really should be questioned. And later on, I'm going to speak to you in terms of how the higher self starts to go about life, and therefore anxiety will start to take a backseat. What else about the ego? The ego associates different to threat, right? Anything that's different is threatening. Don't do it, right? Stay in your comfort zones. The ego has connected accomplishments to your level of self-worth, right? Do you feel this right now? Like, I don't feel very worthy unless I do something, unless I make that much money, or unless I get that career, or unless I have like 5 billion friends, right? I'm not worthy unless I have at least, 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. When you give up the power struggle with the ego, right, you will start meeting your higher self more often, right?
I like what he said there in the last couple of points about trying to feel good, and then what he said there is self-worth. And like he said, oh, I gotta have all these friends, I gotta do all this stuff. Again, a lot of what I was talking about earlier, that mindset, prime example, and he's talking about it right here. People people are searching for things that in the wrong places, or they've put these standards on themselves. They don't allow themselves to tap into what God has planned for them. Everything's got to be this, like I said, this special formula and all this shit. It's just called like it is. Guys, there's no perfect time. There's only God's time. There's only following His will and allowing Him to lead you the way, lead you that way to where He's taking you. But again, I mean, you can allow the world to dictate your thinking and to tell you what to do, how to operate, and how to find true peace and happiness. And you can even be a believer and fall into that. Or you can get to the word, which never changed. You can start praying, and you can find good people with good counsel to you, and just allow. And sometimes you got to sit back and allow and just let things happen. But you're going to get there. And if you're single, you're going to find somebody that's probably needs you and you need her. That's how God lines it up. The successful marriages I've seen in my life, that's how they started. That person's been somewhere maybe you're at, and you're vice versa. Or, you're going through the same thing. I've seen it happen many times. Yeah, there's all the other stuff. Yeah, we get all the other stuff, but you have to look at what's most important first, right? And everything else comes along with it, and that stuff's 10 times better when you do it God's way, or when you just follow your own unique path. Just follow the plan He has. Just like Dennis said, you have to get rid of your old I, get rid of the world's I, what the world says to do, and follow what you want to do. Be who you want to be. And who cares who doesn't like it or not? You don't need 15,000 followers, like you said, to do something. You don't need all these. You don't need 20,000 friends in your life. You don't need to know everybody. You don't need to. None of that stuff matters. It doesn't define who you are. The only thing that defines who you are is you. Nothing that you're aligning with. Nothing that you and God. That's it. So, I mean, it's simple as that. But sometimes it is just that simple. But we've overcomplicated everything in the world today, and the result is what you saw earlier. That kind of mindset. We just have people confused, and so yeah. Back to the video.
And this is all about a power struggle. The ego has created a need for the dopamine hit that comes with stress and anxiety. We start to connect to it. It's like breathing air, right? Once you start to feel inner peace, you're going, oh, this is different, right? Well, I don't know what to do with this. I'm healthy? Wow, that's really I don't know what to do with all this good health, right? So consciously and unconsciously, we revert back to the most familiar thing, worry, stress, right? So we fall for the traps again, okay? Now, let's understand, okay, that you cannot accommodate inner peace if you're not open to a new way of seeing things, okay? This is so crucial. You have to look yourself in the mirror and remind yourself that you are open to new things, okay? You cannot heal anxiety and be so closed off, right? You cannot live a rigid life and heal anxiety. You must allow the playfulness, the feeling of being carefree, the feeling of being able to speak up, the feeling of empowerment. You must allow these things to show up in your daily life if, in fact, anxiety is to be healed. Now, let's get to know the higher self a little bit, okay? And you're probably going, man, I'm so caught up in the anxiety that it's difficult for me to connect with my higher self. I've been there. But just the simple introduction to a different you, right, will set you on a path of discovery and reflection and curiosity. So you don't have to do everything perfectly right now, right? You don't have to understand everything right now. Just be open to it, right? That's enough. The higher self is egoless. Ooh, egoless. You know, I realized this a couple months ago when someone came to me on social media and said, Dennis, yeah, I'm your competitor and I'm doing better than you on social media. Like literally, those were almost the exact words, right? And a bunch of years back, I'd probably go, oh, you're such an a-hole. You're so this. Why would you say that to me? You know, what are you trying to prove, right? You're a this and you're that. I would call them names. I would get really angry, right? And it would dictate my whole day, my week, my month, right? But it was interesting how I wished him well. I blessed him on this healing journey and I thanked him for helping other people. And I realized at that point that I was living out my higher self in a natural way, right? It took a long time for this.
I love what he said there. I love his response. Just, you know what? I respond with love and peace, and he ain't gonna bother me. That's how I am in my life now. By the way, I like my Tic Tacs, nice little snack, but no sugar. But you know, I like what I was saying earlier too. It's like the pressure and the ego, especially with ego. It's the competitive mindset that the world tells you too with social media, especially. Everything's competitive. You got to have X, Y, and Z. You got to look X, Y, and Z. You got to better be doing X, Y, and Z, or you ain't it, right? And that's just a crock of shit. We all know it. But I'm just I got to the point in my life where I just got over all that stuff. Like I'm only I'm 23, but um, I just kind of got over a lot of that just competition and all just that stupid stuff. It just doesn't. It's not necessary. Like who cares? Like who gives a shit what people think about you, or like people don't even really know you. Like they don't really know you. Don't take the time to get to know you either, which is kind of laughable too. How you going to talk about somebody you never got the time to know? Get to know them really. You never gave them a chance. But again, that's the world we live in. We just go off of what's aesthetically pleasing, what looks good, but it's not functional. What's aesthetically pleasing isn't always functional. Write that down. But it's just crazy. And that's funny though. He got that from that guy. Hey, I'm your competitor. I got more than you. I'd be like, dude, who cares? Like, it's not about numbers, and they can pump anybody in the algorithms nowadays. If you're a kiss ass and you bend over backwards for them, they will gladly put your ass in the algorithms, boy. I'll tell you that right now. If you bend over backwards to these people, they will be like, they'll push you because you push whatever they tell you to they want them to say. What's acceptable, quote acceptable, right? But when you get people like Dennis, and people like who I am, people like maybe like Whitlock, people like Jason, and other people who just really don't care that this is who they are, this is what they think, take it or leave it. This is what they believe. This is what I believe. No disrespect, not pushing it down your throat. you, you're more on your own, but it's more satisfying because your mind's more on what's important. And not only that, when you speak from the heart, I may not agree with somebody, but if I know they're being honest and they're being raw and it's their truth, it's what they really believe and they really have good intention, I respect that person. Even if they only have a less following, I let her listen to them more. I rather, you know, pick their brain more because learn from them more because they're honest, they're raw. That's hard to find nowadays. That was my whole intention with the show. Why it's called The Real. This is just who I really am. This is what I believe, my truth. And what do you guys think? It's an open platform. That's why I have people that come on and share their opinions. But authenticity is hard to find nowadays because it's very less of it. And like what you heard earlier in that video that I played earlier, that's not an authentic mindset at all. That is a scripted mindset. That's been that's been a program and developed mindset. That's not healthy. And which is why a lot of people just kind of give up and quit when they try to find things, which is sad. But you should never give up and quit. Never give up on your hopes and dreams. Just because somebody let you down or things aren't going how you wanted them to go. And I've been guilty of that even recently. But things don't go as fast as you want them to go. But you have to understand God's timing. You have to understand why He makes you wait. You have to understand why He doesn't want you getting caught up in the world, doesn't want you to be competing with other people, because competition is just stress. I have sports at a pretty competitive level. I won a national championship right there. Shout out to my RC Black 2012. Shout out to all you guys. Love all you guys. But I competed at a high level. We were a middle 7th, 8th grade team playing against high school teams and kicking their ass. Like, we played at a competitive level. I've been part of high competitive, very competitive things and teams that won championships. But you leave that out. You leave that there. Like when the game's over, you turn it off, or when you move on. That's why you hear a lot of guys too, like a lot of former athletes. They say like when they retire. Hell, I even heard Tristan Thompson recently. And everybody knows Tristan Thompson, the NBA. When he played for the Cavs, he had some off the court news. And he said recently on the Draymond Green podcast, I heard him say this. He goes, as time went on, I sat back and realized what I was doing was wrong, but also how the competitive nature of the industry, the sport, on and off the court, was playing into that, feeding into that. It's kind of like what I was showing earlier with that. It's the same thing, right? There's pressure there. It's your ego. You feel like you got to do all these things because they say to. It's competitive, but competition, you can't let that rule. You can't be competitive with the world and everything in your life. The competition you got is yourself, and that's a fact. Put on your hater blockers. You know what I'm saying? Just put these things on. That was gonna be really custom. Put these things on, and just keep looking forward, and let God lead you the way. You got people you rock with. People that really down with who you are and accept you. There's people out there that really want to know who you are, and people don't. That's okay. We're not mad at them. Just like Dennis said, if you want to come at me with some haters or you don't really know me or you're pissed off at me, maybe something I said, it's okay. I still love you anyways. I'm just gonna keep it moving. I'm a very calm. Anybody knows me. I'm usually pretty mild and calm and neutral. Like I'm not. You have to really piss me off. Like, you just really get on my nerves. You won't stop. But even that, I'm just very restrained myself. I ain't got time for that. Because there's more important things in life, guys, than all this stuff and competition. And, you're never going to get anywhere where you truly want to be focusing on that stuff. And so, yeah, back to the video.
This to happen. I needed to become mindful as I was going through the day. I had to ask myself the question, am I reacting in line with my ego, therefore going towards anxiety? Or am I responding in line with my higher self, therefore going towards inner peace, right? I realized that you can't have a higher self perspective if you're stuck in anxiety, right? Because there's only tunnel vision in that place. So that was a really interesting experience for me. So the higher self is egoless. We know this. The higher self is faithful, has a lot of faith in the future. is intuitively led. Okay, the intuition starts to grow and we start to follow it more often. Through the higher self, being alone never means loneliness. Okay, this is important because, you know, in the world today, it's about, it really is, it's starting to become how popular you are, right? And how many subscribers you have. And automatically, if we're living with anxiety and through the ego and the inner child's ways, we start to look at some people and go, well, they're not even worthy of talking to. They're not worthy of seeing as someone who can help me, right? They're just not worthy. We're starting to see things this way. But the truth is so much different than that, right? So that's an important point to make. And through the higher self, we are open to, as I mentioned, we are open to new experiences. The higher self allows good feelings to show up as they may out of a newfound clarity and progress. Okay, so the main focus here is let's make progress. Let's gain a higher degree of clarity around what this anxiety thing really is, and therefore all the things that I want will be a result of those things, right? So as you can see through the higher self, it's not so much I want to be happy, I want to have fun, all these sorts of things. It's let's focus on progress, let's focus on clarity, and let's leave the good feelings to when they want to arise, okay? The higher self no longer anticipates the bad, since they have given up the need to control and be certain about what's to come. If you're living through your higher self, you trust in the future, no matter what that future is about. The interesting thing with the higher self as well is that the body is no longer the end-all be-all to a person's life, right? They start to see things in a much more energetic manner than the physical manner. If you're feeling this right now, well done. The higher self welcomes in the different, right, out of increased trust. So if it's a different kind of friendship, I'll embrace it. If it's a different kind of relationship, I'll embrace it. Heck, I keep eating the same foods and going to the same places. Today, we're going to try something different. So when you feel like you're embracing the new, this has a lot to do with growing into your higher self. So well done.
I love what he said there, and I'll be real quick. When you start embracing the new and accepting what happened to you, accepting and letting go and redirecting, and you start embracing the new relationship, new friendship, new things. Like you said, that's when you start to really heal. That's when I started to really take off and start to feel better in my life. And I still am doing that more and more in my journey. And it's awesome. And a lot of too is just embracing the new mindset, the new way you see the world, the new way you don't carry that same eye anymore of anxious anxiety and panic. You've been renewed, you've been restored by God. You look at things through a different lens, a better lens, a higher self lens from a higher power, higher source. That's what you got to tap into. And yeah, it's very cool when you start getting to that place more and more. That's something I've experienced in the last year. When I embraced something new in this week a year ago, when I embraced something new and coming up on this mic, and as scared as I was that day, and I was scared as hell. I was nervous as hell doing that thing. When I did my first episode, where I'm from, or not where I'm from, where I've been. My bad. I saw something earlier that said that, but when I see other people that get to that point, it's awesome because I've been there. Like I said, when I did my first show a year ago, I remember that feeling when I finally embraced something new and let myself go, and I knew it was what God was calling me to do. It took me to a whole different place mentally, and it's just my whole life changed, and it's been changing. It still is going to change because I'm still following that path. Do I have ups and downs? I have bad days. I have moments. Absolutely. A lot of stuff I was talking about earlier. It's easy to get caught up in that. But it's awareness is key, and writing down each and every day, focusing on each and every day, saying it out loud, what's important, what's truth, what do you put in your mind, body, and spirit the most. So yeah, great points for Dennis. I'm gonna finish out this video and then I'll close it up.
Done. The higher self no longer connects personal accomplishments to self-worth, since societal expectations are no longer the deciding factor for how worthy we should feel. Okay? So it's not about how accomplished you are anymore with the higher self. It's not about how many people you connect with throughout the day. Okay? It's not about any of these expectations that come from the ego mind anymore. The truth is that you get to a place where you're content with what you have, you're content with how you feel, right? And you're starting to see things differently than how you used to see them. You're going to notice that as you're living through your higher self, the whole process of life starts to slow down, right? You see everybody else around you gaining speed, going faster, living in a place of stress and anxiety, being caught up with their emotions. And there you are, having an emotion and not building on it, right? Having a catastrophic thought, but no longer building on it. Having some criticism shunned your way and questioning it, right? Knowing that the criticism is coming from another person who has to deal with their own root causes and has very little to do with you, right?
I know I wasn't gonna stop, but I like what I had to stop real quick because this is a very key point for healing, and we're on your journey. Like you said, don't wait to you have to feel accomplished. You have to reach a certain level to start doing things. It's good to take time for yourself to build yourself up. I've done it. I still am doing it. And you should always be working on yourself. But it kind of goes back to what I showed earlier in that video, earlier in the beginning of this podcast about that mindset about when I go on the first date, I got to have X, Y, and Z, or else I'm out. Right, and you can apply different many that goes many different ways too. Kind of like what he was just saying. Don't let yourself feel good about yourself. You don't have to do something though. You don't have to accomplish something to feel good about yourself to satisfy your self-worth. You're worthy enough. Number one, if God accepts you for who you are, you should accept you for who you are, and that's all that matters. But also, there's people out there that accept you for who you are, where you are. Like people don't. Here, I've been to the bottom. I've been to lower points. There's a lot of things I still don't have in my life, but that's okay. But the people I hang out with, and people that love me and care for me, they accept me for who I am, and I accept them for who I am. There's people that are in the same place. Dennis has been there, like he just said. Like a lot of times, what you need is actually people to help you get over the hump. God uses people oftentimes to help give us what we need to help us get over the hump, to take that next step, whether it's a relationship or a friend or a boss. Like somebody comes like your mentor, whatever. Somebody you meet at church or at someone. He uses people oftentimes to help give us what we need to help get you over that hump. Because you can't do it all alone. You never can do anything alone. God is the one that holds your hand, takes you there, right? And then he starts putting things in your life to help boost you up, to help get you over the hump, and be free, right? And so, but again, don't that's nothing you see online nowadays too. It's just again, like I said, that secret formula and all this stupid shit. How about you? You got to have all this. You got to do X, Y, and Z. Forget about all that, man. Just trust God and His timing, and the people, whatever He allows to come into your life, whatever people He allows in your life, because you can handle it, and it's made for you, and that's He allowed it there for a reason, right? And the people that I've met in the last 2-3 years, Mike Antonace, for instance, Corey, Jeremy, guys I've become really close with, have been on the show. God brought them in my life when I needed them. Like I didn't really know them at first. I knew who they were. They worked with my dad. They knew my dad well, but I didn't really know them. But as time went on, we all go through some of the same. Mike and Corey and we all went through our battles with anxiety. We've helped each other. You're not gonna say who, but a couple of guys have called me before and help, and I've called them before and help. Because we're there for each other. But I couldn't imagine my life now without any one of those guys, or all the people I've met, because they've all helped me. They've helped me grow further. When I shared the week with my dad who had his surgery back in January, I called people like Mike and Corey that week, and Jeremy and guys. I called a ton of people because they helped me get through that week. My aunt, my uncle helped me get through that week. I needed help. I couldn't bottle it all up and just try to figure it out. I'm not gonna allow or help me get through my past. The anger I was carrying, or maybe something was holding me down. Something was still by. I couldn't let go of something. People helped me get away from that. God used people to help me heal and understand and move forward from that. And He actually gave me better. He showed me better. He gave me better relationships, better everything. Still, I don't see it because I'm still waiting on certain things, which is completely okay. But I know I'll get there. And when that day comes, it's gonna be sweet, real sweet. Because when you wait on God and you allow Him to do it, the richer and richer it gets. And so now I'm gonna play this video out. I had to stop making that point there. That was a great point he made.
So when we live through the higher self, everything starts to change. Everything starts to change. And I highly, highly recommend that as you're going through the day, you pay attention. You pay attention to how you're responding to the world or how you're reacting to the world. I like to keep these in two different places. Reactions are more so emotional and ego-based and inner child-based. Responses are more so coming from the higher self, right? And finally, the higher self defies comfort zones daily, without attachment to a particular result, but rather enjoying the process of detachment, right? This is big. It's very, very big. You're on a journey. Okay, there's no such thing as good and bad. Okay, people out there that are bringing up certain negative emotions within you are simply showing you what you still have to work on. Okay, there's a lack of trust in new experiences. There's a lack of trust in believing in a different idea that's connected to your anxiety symptoms, that's connected to the future. And it's important to understand that the most important aspect of all of this is the trust aspect, right? Because yes, you can logically say, well, yeah, I'm going through my day and I'm living by my higher self. You can logically say that that's the case. But if your heart's not into it, then there really won't be enough momentum that will take you to the next step on the healing ladder, right? So it's important to understand that, are you placing your heart into this work? And are you giving your higher self a chance to show up more often when you're faced with a fearful circumstance? Because if you can allow the higher self to come in and say, hey, I have a say as well in this, right? And you start to believe in that say and enact it, what's going to happen is you're going to be led towards a place you never thought you'd be. And you're going to realize that you can devalue worry. Worry doesn't have as much value in it anymore, nor does the old anxiety identity. My friends, start to get to know your higher self better starting today and allow it to show up throughout the day. I promise you will not regret it, number one. And you will understand more deeply that this really is a journey, right? And you are courageous enough to step into this journey one day at a time. And you should be proud of that, because there isn't a lot of people that are willing to take on this journey, but you are. So remember that you are more than anxiety. Comment below on your greatest epiphany, and we'll chat soon. Bye-bye.
Shout out to Dennis. Great video, like always. And yeah, not much more to say today, guys. I said a lot today. I like what he said there at the end, though. You understanding your value more. And that really goes hand in hand with everything I talked about today, especially that video earlier. Understanding your true value and what are your values, number one. And understanding that how God view yourself, how God views you. And like you said there, what are your real values? Do you value the world? Do you value the ego? What the world says about your ego and your pressure and all that, and you know, um, what it says defines it. Do you value that, or do you value what's truth and what's uh, really honest, and what's really going to? Do you value authenticity? Do you value true, like authentic peace, authentic happiness, authentic love, authentic everything? Because everything that's truth is God's truth, right? And so, what do you really value? What are you allowing yourself? Are you do your values align with where it should be, right? And if you're not a believer, but does it? You still got to ask yourself: do my values still seem right? Does it still really align with? Is it really healthy for me? Has it really benefited me in any way? Yeah, I've had some temporary pleasures, but I haven't have ever really found true sustained happiness and peace. What I'm really searching for. Have I ever truly found that? You got to really dig deep and ask yourself, because only you can answer that question. I can't answer for you. Only you can answer, and only you can admit it and do something about it. And hopefully, you turn to God and ask Him for His guidance, but also just start talking to find some solid people. Find some solid people in your life, like I said earlier. Find solid people. You need people. You need people in your life to help you. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to express. It's okay to let go. And that's what I did a year ago in this week. I let go, and it's led me to where I am now. And so, uh, yeah, shout out to Jason, shout out to Anxiety Guy, shout out to all you guys today, and shout out to the lady, the girl in the video too. Like I said, I wasn't trying to pick on her or anything, but I was using that as an example because it does need to be. That's what I mean. That's they promote and say it's correct. So somebody's got to step up and say no, it ain't. Like, hold on a minute, and it's not out of disrespect or out of like, the hell with you. Like, what do you do? No, it's actually out of just like, hey, trying to help you here. Like, you better slow down there. Like, hold on a minute. Like, somebody needs to stop you and like help these people out. Like, we all need it. I need it. I like people to stop and correct me, especially when I need it because I needed it. So, I wasn't heading in the right path, maybe, or my mindset wasn't off for a moment, for a day. And somebody said, hey, man, remember, this is what's true, what's not. That's not going to focusing on the things you don't have isn't going to get you there. Or focusing on what the world says, all that pressure and everything. You're not going to get there that way. This is how you're going to get there. You know it, what God says, and so, that's all that was. But, well, I'll keep praying for our society because we need it. We all need it. And so, yeah, shout out to all you guys. That's all I got today. I appreciate everybody that's been down with this channel and subscribed to me for the last year. You've been with me the whole way. People that came along the way. I appreciate all you guys for your love and support. It's been awesome reconnecting with some of you guys, get to know some of you people, some new people, and connecting with you guys, and looking forward to what we have planned in the future. And it's gonna be really fun and really cool. And I'm just now, I haven't really started. I haven't even like fully tapped into what I want to do with this show, my channel yet, and everything. But that's okay. That's what's fun about it. And I just let God lead me one day, one step at a time, and His time and His patience, to kind of enjoy where I am. Keep getting better each and every day. Are you better today than you were yesterday? That's all you can do. And so, my mentality. But yeah, that's all I got today. That was a lot. Leave your comment below. I want to hear you guys' feedback on this. If you wouldn't mind, leave a comment below, or message me online, my email. You could DM me, or if I know you, just kind of hit me up. Let me know what you guys thought about this. I want to hear you guys' feedback, and I really appreciate that. And so, like, subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here. Gone. Wait, I'm not gone yet. Wait. Okay, now I'm gone. Gone.